Good evening from South Africa. It's the countdown until I go to Ireland. I'm very excited. Um, I have been waking up at 5 o'clock every morning since, well, last week, Monday, and I stopped doing that around Thursday last week. My sweet spot is 6 o'clock in the morning. I am not a morning person. So I'm going to have to find a way to do exercise at night because I cannot cram everything into those hours before work. And that is just the way it's going to be. So I will stick to my little ritual of making myself a cappuccino with a mocha pot every day so that there is some sort of golden thread running throughout immigrating from South Africa to Ireland. In any case, that's what the experts say you should do, is have some sort of routine or ritual to keep throughout this whole process so that you can feel a little bit sane and have something, that's creating a bit of continuity. So, yeah, another reason why I haven't posted is because I was so excited about immigrating. I hadn't looked at the news for days, and lo and behold, I saw all the conflict in the Middle East. I was supposed to fly via the Middle East to Ireland, cancelled my flight this last weekend and booked via Europe. So it's been quite hair-raising. We're living in very crazy times at the moment. I saw a post from Adam Grant, something about, you know, you're not alone if you're feeling helpless and you're waking up to all this bad news and you just feel like you can't do anything. You're sitting from afar, you're watching on compassionately, and there's nothing you can do. I think we're kind of all collectively feeling a bit hopeless. And I realized that I think we're going to have to find the silver lining or find things to be happy and joyful about, because I think life's going to get harder. And it's not to minimize difficulties in life. I've gone through some very difficult things, but I've got to the point where like I have to find some joy every day. So yeah, let's keep on talking about some of the exciting or frivolous things in life just to give us a bit of hope. We have to do that while still having compassion. So I'm going to talk today about another exciting reason why about living in Ireland. People say, well, why Ireland? Well, hats off to the people who live in Australia. You have I think something like some of the most top poisonous animals that in the world. A huge portion of them are in Australia. One of them is the taipan snake, which apparently just keeps on coming at you. It's very aggressive. It doesn't sort of get scared of people. It just comes at you. Another one is the box jellyfish, and there's some spiders and all sorts of things there as well. Um, when I went to Ireland, I took some wellies with me, and I thought I'd need them for the wet weather. Um, and I needed them to avoid cow clap in the country and just, use for walking around and that. But what struck me was the difference on why I wear wellies in South Africa. And the only reason why I've ever worn wellies in South Africa is when I went to visit my mom when she was living in Kahlui. She grew up there. It's quite a rural kind of town. And there are a lot of most poisonous snakes in South Africa there. The black mamba, the green mamba, the boomslang, the Cape cobra, and spiders, scorpions, you name it. So I would wear my wellies so that, wait for it, I didn't get bitten by a snake on my ankles or on my lower legs when I was walking through the bush. There's another very, very poisonous snake in South Africa called a puff adder, and it lies there, and it's kind of like a very, very docile looking snake and very fat. So you wouldn't think it can hurt you, but if you step on that thing, it will strike you. I think it's an adder, and if you don't get medical attention, you can die. So when I was a glider pilot at one stage, a student pilot. I used to go out to the airfields out in the countryside, in Gauteng near Johannesburg. And every second month or so, the guys would send pictures on the group about having come across a cobra in the hangar. One guy told a really funny story about how he he opened his hangar from the inside and turned around, and this cobra just launched act like him, and he screamed like a woman. And this, the way he told it, was really funny. Of course, if he had gotten bitten by the cobra, it wouldn't have been funny because it's a poisonous cobra. It's an Egyptian cobra. And then every other month, there were pictures of rinkles being found in the hangars. So it's again that poisonous snake, that fat looking thing that looks, like it couldn't move. But lo and behold, if you step on it or irritate it, it will strike you very quickly. So I don't like snakes and I don't like spiders. So I couldn't live in the worst country. I actually developed arachnophobia when we stayed on the farm with my grandparents when I was about 8 years old. And I want to show you this thing. It's called a red Roman. It it follows the sun. It stays in the sun, but it follows your shadow. So you there's an illusion that the thing chases you, but it's actually chasing your shadow to get out of the sun. But it is the most terrifying creature on the planet. They've actually nicknamed it the Kalahari Ferrari because of how fast this thing runs. And it isn't actually a spider, it is related to the scorpion. It is the ugliest looking thing, and these things terrorized me as a kid. They would chase me. Well, I think they'd be chasing me, although they'd be wanting to stay in my shadow. And this, behold, is the Red Roman, aka Kalahari Ferrari. Just wait till it. There we go. And as you can see, it is very ugly, related to the scorpion. Animal lovers would say it's beautiful. I think it is the ugliest thing I've ever seen, and is the reason for my arachnophobia. This one, without expanding its legs or running, is about 10 centimeters. So as you can imagine, when they expand their legs, they can be about as big as a hand or bigger. And my brothers, to top it all off, would hide them in my clothes when we were kids. So I would come into my cupboard, open the door, and there would be a red Roman sitting in my clothes. I've gone to the extent, because I don't want to harm these little bastards. Here is a play spider. I'm not holding a real spider. I would never do that. If you pay, I did. I went to a place. I tried to desensitize myself to my fear of spiders by holding a what do you call those things? Tarantula. But it was a rose tarantula, and they're very docile and chilled. So it was scary, but it wasn't running around like a red Roman. I mean, there's a big difference between standing there with a docile spider on your arm as opposed to being chased by as a child and terrorized. So I have bought this wonderful thing on, I think you can get them on Amazon, but in South Africa it's called Takealot, called a spider catcher. Okay, so it has a little lever here which you press, and when you press that lever, this opens, and you then catch the spider like so, and it doesn't hurt the spider. So I try to pull this thing out. It's very difficult, as you can see. So it's got you have to pull quite hard, and you wouldn't want to do that if you're scared of spiders. You wouldn't want to touch it. So it grips the spider or the moth or whatever you want to catch, and then you can release it gently back into the wild. So that's my spider catcher. I'm not going to need this in Ireland because there aren't any big spiders and there aren't any snakes. So I'm very excited about that. I'm not a big fan of them. And I don't think I was born for Africa. It must be in my European DNA that I was not meant for the harsh environments of Africa or Australia for that matter. So when you want to know why Ireland, that is one of the fantastic reasons. I can't wait. I'm going to give this to my brother so he can also catch something called we call it a Parktown prawn. It also is the most ugliest thing you've ever seen. They like to climb into warm, moist spaces. Most South Africans who live in Gauteng and see the Parktown prawn. Let me just look for one quickly while I'm talking to you so you can see what it actually looks. It's actually the same color as the red Roman. I wonder if they're not related. But they like to live in moist places. Parktown prawn. It's not the scientific name. There we go. I will show you this Parktown. Yeah, it looks just like the red Roman. It looks like they could be related. But it likes moist places, and most South Africans in Gauteng have had the experience of finding one of these things in their shoes. Now, a Parktown prawn is about that big, okay? So you putting on your running shoes and you find something wriggly at the bottom, and it's happened to me. There's been a Parktown prawn at the end of that shoe. It is the most vile, disgusting thing you can ever experience. It will scare the pants off you, and most South Africans have had an encounter like that, right? And they like falling into swimming pools. That is what we call the Parktown prawn. And the reason why we call it the Parktown prawn is because there is a suburb in northern Johannesburg where they seem to congregate, but they can be found all over Johannesburg in the northern suburbs and I think extended suburbs. And they also spray a dark ink at you, so it's even more scary. So when you try to catch it, it can spray dark ink at you. It's a terrifying experience. I have not seen one Parktown prawn in Ireland. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the reasons why I'm very, very excited to move to Ireland. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you when I see you.